Hi, welcome back to the Movie Review Mom channel. Yay, you're here. You made it. I'm so glad. Thank you so much for your support. And the best way you can support my growing channel is to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and even click on that little bell notification, and it'll tell you every time I upload a new movie review so you don't miss out on all the latest scoop. So the movie that I'm reviewing today is called The Pact, not to be confused with the many movies that also have the same name. This is actually an intriguing Danish film that opens in New York City here in the United States on February 11th, 2022, followed by openings in Los Angeles and San Francisco on February 18. It's rated PG and is an hour and 15 minutes. So I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell where I'll give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content. So in a nutshell, as an author of 31 books, personally, I ate up this movie because it's about a writer. Every writer secretly wishes for some kind of a patron who will support them financially and emotionally, who believe in their talent and encourage them to keep going. The movie asks the question of all creators: what would you give or give up for such an opportunity to achieve greatness and to have a patron who would support you in all of those ways? Well, so here's the story synopsis. It's 1948, and 63-year-old out of Africa author Karen Blixen, whose pen name of that book and movie was Isaac Dinesen, is a lonely literary sensation, devastated by syphilis and mourning her lost love, until she meets the talented 30-year-old poet Thorkild Bjornvig. I probably didn't pronounce that name correctly. She offers him a Faustian bargain and promises him stardom if he will obey her unconditionally. As her demands become more and more pernicious, Thorkild must choose between Blixen's promise of fame or family. From director Billy August, who won awards for Pell the Conqueror, comes this sterling adaptation of Bjornvig's best-selling memoir. The director, Billy August, is a Danish Academy Award-winning film and television director, among other awards that he's received. In the notes to the press that were sent to me when I got the press screener, he stated, quote, "Karen Blixen's authorship has always fascinated me, and likewise her charismatic, self-promoting, and extravagant personality, especially expressed in her spectacular and odd relation to the young, promising, and ambitious poet, Thorkild Bjornvig." Now, in real life, they created a pact, which is the name of this movie, and also the book, which was written as a memoir. The goal of this pact was to make Thorkild a better writer. So the film attempts to show that we each have an obligation to live out our potential. Everyone has a special gift or talent, and we can only be redeemed as human beings when we live our potential. That's the gist of the whole movie. Of course, there's more to it than that. So let me tell you the things that I really liked about the film. First of all, because this is a Danish film, I had never seen any of these actors before. They were all fantastic. Berta Newman does an excellent job as the eccentric author Karen Blixen. I'd love to see an English language remake of this movie starring Helen Mirren as Karen Blixen. Don't you think that would be fantastic? She makes every movie fantastic. And then Simone Benneberg plays the young poet Thorkild Bjornvig. In an English remake, I might cast George Mackey in this role. What do you think? I loved his innocent looking face and surprised expressions, and thought he was perfect in the recent World War II drama called Munich, The Edge of War. And the actor who plays Thorkild in this movie kind of has that innocent expression and kind of like a young lamb being led to the slaughter kind of expression in a lot of the scenes. So that's why I instantly thought of George Mackey. Karen Blixen recognized Thorkild Bjornvig's talent and presented initially the idea of this pact. She described a pact to him as a holy, magical promise. She promises him success and protection, and she pushes him to be a great writer, but She also requires him to make certain sacrifices to get him to tap into his creativity, such as spending large amounts of time away from his family. So do you think that it would be worth it to lose your family if you were guaranteed greatness in your field or in your job? And that's basically the crux of this story, which is fascinating to watch, to see what's he going to do? What decision is he going to make? In the film, she calls him magister, which means master, like master of arts in Danish, to give him an elevated idea of himself and skills. I love that aspect of her approach because we tend to rise up to the level in which we see our future selves, don't we? Technically made, the film is beautiful to look at. The lighting and the color palettes are especially good because they symbolize and beautifully illustrate where and when Karen Blixen's influence was the strongest on this young writer. I love that Thorgild and his young wife had a son named Bo, because that's the name of one of my sons too. In this movie, we get to travel to Denmark and to Germany. I always love traveling in movies. One of my sons is actually dating a girl who grew up in Denmark. So it was really fun to hear the film in her native tongue. Whenever I visit her and her family, they all speak Danish. And it's really fun to hear the words. Like I'll ask, how do you say this? And they'll say, they're like these sounds that we just don't have in English. Anyway, it's a beautiful language. A few years ago, I got to go to Denmark for the very first time, and I just fell in love with the country and the charm of its people. They teach and live a concept called Huga, which is the essence of coziness. It's a single magical word that combines the feelings of cuddling up on a couch under a warm blanket with your loved one while wearing your favorite fuzzy socks, sitting next to a crackling fire, all while drinking hot chocolate. That's Huga. It's such a charming word, and they really do value that coziness in all aspects of their life. And I just adore that. It's fascinating to look at who needs whom the most in this story and watch the characters and that dance that they do with each other. They say that the best writers are those who have experienced some elements of pain and suffering in their lives, because those intense feelings add depth to their writing. And I actually believe that that's true. It gives us depth to our lives and our character. One of the things that Karen Blixen wanted to give Thorgild was deeper and varied experiences so that he would become a great poet, because he would be able to have experiences and variety of feelings and emotions and thoughts, of course. Now, with all of that praise, there were some things that I didn't like about the movie. First of all, before the movie starts, the screen scrolls words that you have to read to understand the setting and the background information. And the words fly by very fast, so you have to read pretty quickly. So just a heads up there. And for a movie about great storytellers and the art of language, the film moves quite slowly with very little tension. The tension is really mostly internal turmoil, and sometimes that's represented well on the characters' faces, and other times not as much as it probably needed to. While the film is very dramatic, it's definitely more of a study of character than a fast-moving story with lots of action. In other words, this won't be everyone's cup of tea. And there is lots of tea in the movie. Let me give you some tips for parents. First of all, young kids are going to be completely bored. It's adults talking, and they're not talking in English either. You have to read subtitles because Danish is spoken almost entirely. There's one scene where the author of the book is being interviewed by Americans, so she's speaking in English. And so I was very hopeful. I was like, oh, good. I don't have to read subtitles the whole time. But no, you do have to read subtitles the whole time. There's talk of syphilis and megalomania. And an affair is known, although there are no scenes that really illustrate the physical relations. So that's good. The film actually didn't have a rating, and so I had to kind of guess, and I put it at a PG because while there are conversations that are more adult, there's no bad language or inappropriate visuals on screen like that. Some of the themes that are illustrated very well in the movie are longing, which is discussed a lot, and actually illustrated very well. Sacrifices and the price that you're willing to pay for greatness, trust, infidelity, pain, guilt, marriage, experiencing life's profound thoughts and feelings. And at one point, she says to him that the purpose of a journey is to learn, grow, and change. And change is painful. And the movie definitely illustrates that. And then also some ideas like, one person says, is love a feeling or is love wanting to do something for someone? How do you know if it's real love? And then other ideas that are talked about are to never become afraid and to raise your gaze. And I thought that that was a really interesting expression. I always write down expressions and lines, funny lines and interesting lines, and I include them on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. So you can run over there and check them all out on the website, but I'll share some of them with you right now. I didn't write down any funny lines because it really is a serious drama, but I thought there were some interesting lines. This one is actually written on a title card before the movie begins, and it's quoted by Karen Blixen, again, who wrote the book Out of Africa. And by the way, you definitely should see that movie. It's a lovely movie and was hugely popular. Anyway, the quote is, "Not by your face, but by your mask shall I know you." And the idea of how we put on masks is illustrated very well in the film as well. And then another line I thought that was interesting, spoken by Karen Blixen, was when she asked him, "Do you know why so many people are unhappy nowadays?" And he said, "No." And she says, "It's because they're no longer raised to be brave. But in order to be happy, you need to risk being unhappy, and that takes courage." And he experiences that in the film. All right, and I'll share one last one, also by Karen, and she says to him, again, coaching him, she says, "It's not enough to write, you must get out of the library." In other words, she wants him to have life experiences. All right, so overall, I thought it was a beautiful film. I recognize this isn't going to be for everyone's taste. It's a little bit on the artsy fartsy side. If you're a writer, you're definitely going to be interested. And so my movie review mom grade is an A. All right, so before we go, let me give you some recommendations for a couple of other movies that instantly came to my mind. Of course, the first one is Out of Africa. You must see that one. And then another one that came to my mind is Dead Poets Society. So Thorgild wants to be this incredible poet. And so Dead Poets Society is a movie about a bunch of students, and they have an incredible professor who really is trying to get them out of the classroom to experience life and to use those life experiences and emotions to add depth to their own writing. And then if you enjoy this director and his work, definitely check out his award-winning film called Pell the Conqueror. All right, that's it for my review. I hope if you see this movie that you do enjoy it. And again, thank you so much for all of your support. I really appreciate it. I will catch you in the next video. And until then, have an awesome day. Bye for now.